Welcome back to the Martinliedtke channel. Today, a spooky one. We're going to talk about the links and the many moving pieces in the story of John and Yoko Ono. There are so many aspects to this story, but I'm going to concentrate on some of the really spooky connections and overlaps in this story, which is just mind-blowing, actually. So we're just going to have a little think first about the couple, the mysterious couple. I must just note at the beginning that it's really uncanny how much Yoko Ono looks like a dude. I'm just saying. So here they are, the happy couple. Apparently he's like besotted with her. She's about 15 million times more intelligent, actually, than John Lennon. If you watch, as I did, the In Bed with John and Yoko documentary movie that's on YouTube, quite shocking, and Johnny's getting destroyed by the media and getting a bit ratty about things. So here he is. Now, the whole idea of the Beatles was a purely fabricated business, like they did in the 70s. These are manufactured, like Stock, Aitken and Waterman did back in the 80s with Kylie and Jason, for example. So yeah, they had in the beginning, after they come back from their time in Hamburg, a manager who put them into uniforms and their famous mop tops by the name of Brian Epstein, who mysteriously died himself of apparently some sort of overdose, linked him with the fact that he was a homosexual, and that wasn't really acceptable in the mid-60s. So here he is, John Lennon. And what you find with this character is that he's full of sarcasm, and he's always knocking in the old Illuminati symbology. So I don't doubt for a second that these, all of them are Freemasonic players. If you watch John Lennon, there's many incantations, many personifications of them all, actually. These four men are no similarity to the four men of 1964, by the way. John Lennon stated, I think it was on the Dick Cavett interview, that there are at least 8 of the Beatles, and they show you that in the movie anyway. So there was, many tributes that look just like them, and many people know that Paul, there he is there, died in a car accident and was actually replaced by Billy Shears. So he was cocky, he was rash in school, apparently a bully, for a peaceful man activist. He was just playing an agenda, and he was playing, and he knew the results of what happened to the people on these agendas. We'll go into it in a minute, namely the hippie movement. Early on, happy to toe the line, wear a tie, get an OBE from the Queen, which they did give back, and John Lennon was famous for stating, thanks for the purple hats. Now, the purple hats are medals which you get in Vietnam for being injured. Certain irony and a message in that, don't you think? Or so he stated in an American tour, that he classed himself as being more popular than Jesus Christ, pissing off the whole Bible Belt, and there was a national burn the Beatles day. He said in defense that I wasn't comparing myself to Jesus Christ as an entity or a man. I was just saying I'm really more popular than him right now. I got more subscribers. And it was a fact. Now, this video, this hour-long movie, is quite torturous to watch. She sings in it, and he's suffering with love deafness. For some reason, he actually loves her. Listen, love is in the eye of the beholder. I'm just saying, it's really weird. He is her third husband. She's already got a child. When I watch this documentary, I'm like, who's the sprog on the bed? There's this little 5-year-old kid that's jumping around the bed with 100 men photographing them in this room while they talk about absolute nonsense. Actually, she says a couple of things about keeping positive and making things happen, but willing the war to end from your bed and wanting everyone to do it as well didn't actually work. Well, it did eventually, but 4 years later. Turn on your mind, relax and float downstream. So the entire hippie movement was tied in with LSD, which, as we know, is a CIA implanted drug into the consciousness of 60s society, an experiment to see, how it would react. But they used these in mind control experiments in the 1950s. I've got many videos, actually, evidences of military personnel as well being experimented on with a mind-altering chemical known as the subscibe. And these apparently experimented with it. They're the first turn on of weedage from apparently Robert Zinnemann, who is king of the Jews and king of the pop stars at that time. So there they are, knocking out the Illuminati symbology of Fall and John Lennon. So John went from a clean-cut young man, not too bad looking, to this, which is like, hope I don't get detention with that smelly school teacher. He looks like a woodwork teacher from the 1970s, nothing special going on. Never mind a great intellectual. Imagine all the people living hand in hand around the globe. Yeah. Here they are, turning their minds on, tuned in, and dropping out. Not because they had millions at this stage, but in the video, Strawberry Fields Forever. Brilliant video. So yeah, they say, he was a beatnik, introspective, creative genius. He had a Ivor Novello awards for music, him and Lennon and McCartney. But they did that to the Gallagher brothers, and they talk about spingly spanglies and rainbows in the sky. So here he is, covering his one eye, multiple pairs of glasses. You see this practiced by Buzz Aldrin, other sonic players in the game, covering the one eye there you see with the flower. He constantly does this pissing all over the creator thing going on, I noticed, even though in the words of Instant Karma, he says the opposite, but in his behavior, I see something else going on. And then the old reverse, you see a lot of this reversal behavior going on in the music. I noticed there's a lot of reversal music and instruments that the producer George Best had put together, and they're doing a lot of reversal thing going on. You can see him like literally going backwards up this tree. So somebody jumped out that far. I can't remember if it was John or. So there they are in the late 60s, being right silly sausages. I'm not impressed whatsoever. I don't know why people would have been into it. I would have been annoyed by them, but I'm a bit of a punk rocker myself by heart. There he is, look, in his hippie, in his his teddy boy days. And that's what he was influenced by, was the rock and roll music. He thought he was clever, but I've never actually laughed at him. Look, the Joker does that now, doesn't he? See, in Britain, we got a thing that we would call that flouncing. And if a man does that, you're going to be like, eyebrow up. It's like, hello. So there he is. They're dressed in white because they're so holier than thou. So there he is, a right fudge brain. He doesn't look like he's on many drugs at the moment, and neither does she. But really strange behavioral patterns. He's not funny at all. I've never once laughed at John Lennon. Maybe I'm just losing something in translation. I don't know. It's not much difference between Cardiff's sense of humour and Liverpool's sense of humour. They're practically the next city north. So there's that. Both famous ports. So there he is. Bird just shit on his head. He's there. He's in Bangor in Wales. They had a little hippie get together in 1967, apparently with the Maharishi, and meditated on Wagga Wagga Wagga, whatever they do. But then he fell in love. Yeah, he went to an art exhibition in New York, and she was just hanging around. And she states, and Sharon, the son, he had some suspicions actually that she states she didn't know who he was. Hang on. John Lennon, the guy who's more famous than Jesus, I just stated, and she said she didn't really know, but maybe she just moved in different circles. She was an elite, as you will soon see. So yeah, he's all mash up. Oh, you're the best thing that ever since sliced bread. Even though later on she's like, I think we need to have a woman. So what you mean, love? It's like, well, he says, in case you want to go off have an affair, and could give you Lelu, Who Lelu? Oh, Lelu Lilo, she's my friend. You can have her, have sex with her, and I won't mind. It's like, wow, that's real love. Yeah, I don't mind at all. This is 60s, we're open now, man. Yeah. Yes, John, you're so interesting. Oh my God, I'm hanging on your every intellectual monologue. Oh my God, yes, tell us that again about Penny Lane. There's a barber selling photographs, yes, of every man he's ever known. Whoa! There he is. Now, if you listen to that, take the time to listen to that in bed interview. John Lennon's playing acoustic guitar, some of it with his wife, making noises, strange noises, and he can't actually play the guitar. He's like not really making the effort or something. Or after all those years in rock and roll music, I'm totally missing something. It's like, tune your guitar. My ears are in fucking agony, Lennon already. So there he is, vacant. What are they saying? Oh, I've been playing this game for years. I've just been dragging myself through it by my ass. I don't know actually what any of them are saying. I'm just replacement Lennon. See? Fuck. They seem really smart. Maybe I should act smart. So there they are, the greatest thing since sliced bread. They showed up in America and all of the girls were screaming. And then you'd have a famous American presenter saying, and here they are, the Beatles in Shea Stadium. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause she got sent in as an Illuminati handler. Isn't it, love? Yeah. Yeah, so what it was, John Lennon needed to be kept in tow a bit. He's just gone through all of that massive social engineering program. He's too famous to actually snuff out right now. There's too many eyes on him. So we're going to chuck him a wife who's already an elite. She's already a creative artist, apparently, although her stuff's shit, if you ask me. I can't sing for toffee. And there he is, John Lennon, with the little girl who's not his little girl. It is Yoko Ono's little girl. So I looked into it. Now, she's the daughter of an American producer, Mr. Cox, who she married prior to meeting John Lennon, who's her third husband. And they had a daughter who was 5-year-old, Yoko, who's around now today, and she's in her 60s. Months after this in bed, the father won custody of the daughter, saying that Yoko Ono was completely incapable of having any children near her because of her uncontrollable bullshit and drug taking. The court allowed it, and she was taken away from her and him and put with the father. Oh shit, the behavior, it was just really strange. Honestly, it's just really strange. These people are really kooky, really fucking kooky. So yeah, so they had another kid as well, a baby in 1967 who grew up, and that was the son, who's Sharon. I've seen many interviews with him. He's got a few things to say on the matter. There he is, Sharon. There's a song on the White Album dedicated to Sharon. And something funny with Sharon too. I can't quite put my finger on it, but he says all different stories. So the Beatles were definitely involved in this social engineering program, drinking tea with presidents, meeting all the famous celebrities like Muhammad Ali, and there they are having tiffin, a nice cup of cha in bone china, part of the elite ritual, which they all do. There they are in their uniformic days. The greatest band to ever be or ever will be. I can't imagine anything ever being as famous as the Beatles were. Just absolutely phenomenal. Excuse me, that's the Who. And they can tell, they'll show you pictures of you. Although there's a lot of people that are not entered in the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which is supposed to have loads of symbology, like a grave of Paul, and loads of symbology concerning the death of Paul. And two sets of Beatles. The first Beatles, interestingly, the uniformic mop-topped Beatles of the early 60s, and then the hippie revival, uniformic, psychedelic Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, completely replacement band later on, almost as if they're not exactly the same people. Marilyn Monroe, you can see Marlene Dietrich, you can see Gandhi, you can see Oscar Wilde, Oliver Hardy, Laurel, Stan Laurel. Oh, there's Marilyn Monroe there. So this would be Diana Dawes, maybe. of those. Marlon Brando, Dylan Thomas, the most famous Welshman, Dylan Thomas the poet. And at the back there, Alistair Crowley, because it's all about the cult of Thelema with these ISIS worshippers. And it's all in their symbology. And we know this for a fact. You see Bob Dylan up in the corner. But surprisingly, there's no Elvis Presley in here. You'd think he would have been the most influential to them all. The greatest rock and roller, king of rock and roll, is not on the cover. Sergeant Pepper's. Also a lot of other entries, people really significant in the time. But does that say that Elvis Presley wasn't Illuminati? It's hard to say. And wax effigies of them. It's not many physical matches for Paul. I can see not many physical matches for John either from his earlier years. He gets this bony face, this skinny face later on. And they say that, walking across this way on the crossing at Abbey Road in London, the Beatles, and Paul wears no sandals, which you can see the sandals there, which apparently means that he's dead in rock and roll decoding terms. Here they are knocking up with the Illuminati symbology, telling you who their allegiance is to. Lucifer with the devil horns and the sixes, 666. Again, the narrative for this two sets of Beatles, parallel dimensions, blue meanies, others. It's all coded in their music. There they are. So this John Lennon here, let's have a look at this one. This is the late 60s John Lennon, who looks like a 45-year-old man, but I'm guessing that's the scruffy hair and the scruffy beard. And he deliberately makes himself look unattractive for some reason. He's just yucky V. Looks like a dodgy old, crusty old rent man or something. And you haven't got your rent to pay. Like, we can settle the debt. It's like, yeah, you're all right. The 70s. So there he is. He had a little go with the drums, apparently, Paul McCartney. A bit of a drummer. And I made a mistake about this guy. He was another guy that was in the Beatles, got killed, not Best. There was another one as well. So Illuminati symbology covering the eye, and this one here is Ian Brown, the Stone Roses. Now back to 1969. You may hear the music of Debussy coming through in the background. It's very juicy, makes you feel very nice. Now I will want to play this. It belongs to Yoko Ono. But what you see is 100 men and photographers, people interviewing them, and there's one guy that turns up and he's shit hot interviewer, and he starts to cry, John Lennon, and he's like, you're giving me shit. But the whole time is this child running around the bed, and there's 100 men in the room. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Can't you just get her a babysitter? Anyway, it doesn't last because she's taken off with her real father a little while later. So it's not John Lennon's, she's Yoko's from the first marriage. Very strange. Now Yoko's first marriage is with this producer here, Mr. Cox. He was a movie producer, a writer, etc. in the establishment, no doubt about it. And they were together some years, but it wasn't her first husband. Anyway, they seem quite happy, and he seems quite normal for Hollywood. Nay, her first husband, who's 89 at the moment, who looks like he's very elite, is the Japanese gentleman whose name I could never pronounce. He was Yoko Ono's first husband. I don't even want to know how old she was. And there's Yoko, the kid, who he's got custody for because Yoko's a spanner and can't look after kids. She's a fucking hippie. No shit. So there you are. In case you didn't know, it comes as a surprise to me. I will be honest, guys. I've never heard of this human being until this week, until I looked into this narrative. Is Yoko Ono Cox. Yeah. She's around now. She's been involved in movies, producing, etc. Not too much traction. It doesn't seem to be. There she is there. It's a bit wokey. Not very smart for some sort of Hollywood-y type person. And there's Sean. Oh, excuse me. Jesus Christ. Get that fucking off. Sean with his mother, who's Yoko Ono, who's still kicking around today. She's still screaming that weird noise that she makes. And there's Sean a few years ago with his mother. That's another story for another day. Okay, we're moving on. Now, We're going to stick with 1969 because it was a super interesting year. So the months, or the first months of the year, you got John Lennon in bed, and he's suing for peace with this activism in John Lennon in bed. Okay, which is he flies over from London to Montreal, and they do another one. He flies back and he does another one in Paris, spending umpteen money. The very same year, though, the hippie movement dies, and it dies with this man here, Charles Manson. Now, Charles Manson says, okay, in his narrative, even though he hasn't killed anyone, we'll get to that, his cult, that he got all of his ideas and inspiration sent to him by the words of the Beatles in the track Helter Skelter. When you get to the bottom, you get to the top of the slide. So he's thinking that I'm not the only person at this period. He's thinking that the Beatles are personally talking to him. Now, I don't think they could have got anyone else that looked as kooky and nutty as Charles Manson. Some people say, oh, this is an actor. It is an actor because there's no two Charles Mansons that are the same. This guy, his swastika on his head is over to the left. We'll have a look how many swastikas are actually on Charles Manson. Some people say it's George Bush acting. I actually see George Bush's eyes. So yeah, Helter Skelter. Now there was a place where the family used to stay in Los Angeles, and it had the words of Helter Skelter written on a door. But they're saying that the Beatles seen it there and writ it down, and it was there first, and not the Beatles track, like the plagiarizer of a door, in the family. I can't give you any direct evidence that John Lennon actually knew the Manson family, but I can say that they are connected, and this is how. So Charlie Manson is accused of murdering in 1969, or ordering the murder, because he sent his girls, he had a few girls and his disciples, they say, that went off to the Tate-LaBianca murders, among others, apparently, in the LA Hollywood area. So in this younger man in the 60s, he's got just like a cross in the middle. It develops into over to the other side, a swastika. You're going to see many inverted versions of this as well. And this is in more in recent days. Apparently, he recently got married as well, and then he died. So there he is, weedy, strange-looking man, musician, and all sorts of stories of his personality. Indeed, probably a psycho, involved in gangsterism and drugs and things. But this power over women, I just don't get it. Apparently, he had this power over people. He used to talk bollocks and cast a spell on them. And he sent them off to do a Clockwork Orange, so chase her around the house with a giant china penis, an actress among the 5 slain in the Beverly Hills mansion. Okay, now Sharon Tate was the second woman, and the third victim is suspected. The suspect is seized. Okay, they get busted. Now, the thing is about this is, right, she's married to Roman Polanski, the movie director, the Polish movie director, only he's recording the movie Rosemary's Baby in the Dakota Hotel in New York. This is why she's alone. She is also pregnant, and the baby dies. They gave her a little burial. Hang on a minute. Her husband's recording a film about a guy who sells his soul to the devil so that his partner can have a satanic or demonic baby that's been given to her by the devil himself. Yet he's gone off to make that film. She's at home and she's been aimlessly murdered, apparently, while pregnant. Talking about art imitating reality or vice versa. So these are the victims, apparently stabbed up, and they put slogans on the wall like pigs. All seems really contrived. The story behind it, the LaBianca murders, guys, is just these girls, they just laugh. the whole way round. You know, they got years in jail. They talk about this promiscuous sex lifestyle that they all had. They all gave themselves willingly to Charles Manson and done anything that he says. He's actually the first serial killer to ever spend his entire life in jail without actually killing anybody or being charged with killing anybody. She was very beautiful, Sharon Tate. I must admit, she was absolutely beautiful. There's interviews you can watch on YouTube with her and Roman Polanski, where she openly talks about her roles in films where she's naked and she does a lot of sex roles, and she says, oh, it's beautiful, and if it's taken in the wrong context, it becomes something else. You know, she was a smart woman, actually, but really, really beautiful. And some sort of sacrifice. And the baby, just like what is happening in the movie, Rosemary's Baby, is happening in real time somewhere else. It's like the Twilight Zone. You know, he's making that movie and she gets murdered pregnant. Sacrifice the baby, sacrifice the beauty, that is, and the intellect as well. She was smart, Sharon Tate. For the era, she was very modern thinking, I think, and very smart in the interviews. I was quite impressed with her knowledge. So there they are. He was a strange little chap. I don't mind him. I've seen him in some later interviews. He doesn't seem too weird and kooky, although his films are. But he fits exact. If you watch Rosemary's Baby, the actor that plays the guy who sold his soul or done the deal with the witches, he's exactly like him. So he's done his deal with witches and the devil, okay, to be the most famous Hollywood director there is. Roman Polanski, synonymous with the greatest ever, one of the greatest ever, and sacrifice his beautiful blonde wife and his newborn baby. Does that sound like them? How beautiful. How tragic. But all on the world stage. But I don't doubt that she died because of the state of him when he talks about it later. He's really in a bad way. So he was busy making the film in the Dakota, a spooky hotel, a spooky high-tech Tatarian hotel in New York City, Midtown New York City. Now, you may find this very interesting. Let me just show you this a second. Just reduce that picture. Rosemary's Baby, there. That's the cover of the movie, okay? And this is the cover to Mind Games by John Lennon, which is exactly what they're doing. This is the album cover for Mind Games. Two sons. Yoko laying horizontal like a mountain, him in the foreground, and then Rosemary's Baby, the baby in the foreground, and the face laying horizontal with the nose. You're telling me he's never seen the cover to Rosemary's Baby? He knows Mia Farrow, guys. You find that spooky? Is he the Rosemary's Baby? Wow, that's really spooky. So it's all interconnected. There's no doubt about it. The Duchess of Kent wore exactly the same dress as Rosemary in the movie Rosemary's Baby when she gave birth. Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but, you know, the little boy seems a little bit naughty, although I do like George. He's a good kid. But has he got little hoofy woofies? He's a golem. Is he something else? Why would they do that? Why? Sharon Tate. Very reminds me a lot of Lady Di as well, you know, her disappearing the way she did. And that's something else I'm going to talk about very soon. Here's the movie in the Dakota. Now, people who have lived in the Dakota in the past, you may be surprised, guys. Excuse me. So basically, they're poisoning her. They're giving her this tannish root, which is making her because she's actually carrying the Antichrist. Basically, she gets impregnated by the devil, and he looks just like Roman Polanski. And Mia Farrow, she's tied in with so many psyops, guys. It's just unbelievable. Married to Frank Sinatra, brought on the Hindu religion almost. And here they are with a tannish root. It stinks. She's getting iller and iller, basically dying with this thing reaching all of the minerals out of her. And all of the people in the tower block, all of them are witches. There's a band called All of Them Witches, and it's based on the Dakota. I wouldn't put it past them if it was still like it in the modern day, like now in the Dakota. John Lennon lived there. Tesla lived there. Died there. Roberta Flack, famous singer, she lived there. Rosemary Clooney, George Clooney's auntie, and that dynasty, she lived there. Leonard Bernstein, he's got the downstairs apartment there, been living there for donkey's years. And Judy Garland. Anybody more famous than Judy Garland back in the day? I think not. Rejected stars from the people who wanted to live in the Dakota, interestingly, had to go by the board. And people like Billy Joel, Madonna, and Cher were refused access to live in the Dakota. I wonder why that would be. And isn't that interesting? So let me just... So yeah, mind games is what they've been playing with us. Here's the film. And here they literally say the actor out of the one who wrote the Satanic Bible, and Son of Faye, played the creature, but really uncanny how they got the eyes like that and stuff. He has your father's eyes. She gives birth to a demon, an ugly little hoofy woofy baby, but they say it's cute. Rosemary's baby. Really weird stuff. So there she is, Mia Farrow, off in 1967 with the Beatles. So she definitely knows the Beatles because she's with the Beatles. She's with Donovan, and she's with George's girlfriend, and somewhere in here, Marion Faithful. But she apparently has got accused with having sex with Maharishi. The Maharishi. Oh yes, come that's by me, Mia. Is it Mia? Oh, come near, Mia. Sit by me. I know I sound little and I'm like a little boy, but I'm actually a man under this skirt. Look. Oh. So there they are, a bunch of bloody hippies, dropping acid up in North Wales, going up there stealing the vibration and doing stupid bollocks. So the Tate-LaBianca murders happened in 1969, August 9th and 10th. I'm not sure if Roman Polanski was actually filming it at the same time as the murders, but just prior to the murders, and then it's just played out exactly the same thing. Really weird. So in 1969, the murders have happened, and they've just taken down the hippie movement. Because you can't trust any hippies, because they're all in a cult, and they'll go off and murder famous Hollywood stars. But 3 weeks before then, they had the moon landings, and everyone was going, yay, wave a flag, we're on the moon. But apparently the American public complained, said this is really boring, and put I Love Lucy back on, and they lost all, like, basically TV viewing and subscribers. So they thought they'd spice it up a bit by taking out the hippie movement. So there's that, because no one really gave a shit. John Lennon. Okay, well, he died in the 8th of December 1980, didn't he? He had an obsession with the number 9, number 9, number 9, number 9. And going back to that video in bed with John and Yoko, they read fan mail, and somebody predicts that he will be killed on the 9th in that video, guys. And he looks quite, oh, that's interesting. But there are other predictions surrounded his numerology and around the 9th as well. But he never made the 9th. Or did he? This is the question. John Lennon didn't have a funeral. His last words were, I'm shot. That's a weird last words. It's like, no fucking shit, Sherlock. The gun just went off and I'm going, ugh. It's like, oh, did you see that? I'm shot. So anyway, John Lennon never had a funeral per expressed wishes of Yoko Ono. Instead, they just had a private thing going on. Isn't that interesting? One of the greatest musicians in history, the elite of the rock and roll industry, and he doesn't get a funeral. Well, he fathered 2 sons, one with his first wife, who I thought was really lovely, and he basically fucked her off for that really weird little Japanese one. you know, Watch Yellow and Lives Off Beatles, Yoko Ono. And also, what is a dragon with wings called? What is a dragon with wings called? Linda McCartney. Oh, sorry, come on, it's only... You would like to see Put Fun of the Dead. So there they are, the Dakota, the spookiest hotel in the world, and he gets killed outside of it by some kook who I don't believe is a real person, more just an actor. There he is there. Mr. Chapman. Oh, looks just like Max Sargent. How weird is that? Jesus. So there he is. I don't buy this because he said he was hanging around outside the Dakota all day to get his autograph. Big fan of his new album, Double Fantasy. Interesting name for the album. And his last album track was really interesting too. So there he is. Yeah, he does look a little bit like I might be a serial killer or a murderer. He does look a bit, I don't know, frumpy, lonely. You know, all of the MO that they, you know, if they were painting a narrative, crazed madman, loner image. It's like, yeah, he'd do it. Look at him. He looks fucking nuts. Anyone would say the same, wouldn't they? By design. So Julian, he was all right, Julian, by Cynthia's boy. Proper Scouser, looks a little bit more like John Lennon than Sean. Sean looks a little bit like a girl, fat girl. And he had a really good bit of music coming out in the 60s, in the 80s, did Julian. I enjoyed his music, the little bit that he did do. Should have carried on, I think. So, yeah, just prior to his assassination, his apparent assassination outside of Dakota, he had signed an autograph for young Chapman. He's looking at him there, guys. He's looking at Chapman there. He even has photos taken with people outside. There's Chapman. Could you give me your autograph, please? Yeah. And earlier on in the day, he even come up to him, spoke to him while he was with his son, Sean, walking in the park and did nothing. Oh, I'll just save my bullet for later until, you know, there's plenty of people around and then I'll shoot you in public so everyone can see and I can get caught and spend the rest of my life in jail. Sounds like an awesome plan. Thank you for your autograph, my autograph. Does it make any sense? So that was his last day on Earth. There, John Lennon. In the spooky Dakota Hotel. Would I say he was a good man? I'd say some of the things that he did as a result of his life caused harm to people. His inspiration for music and all of that, you know, con people. I was even one of them, just like globe myths and stuff, you know. I thought it was all groovy, and it ain't groovy. It ain't groovy if it comes from that source. So there's 1,000 narratives out there about the death. I'm sure some of you in the comments will say, wow, it looks like Max Sargent. And so some of you will say, wow, he's 7'2". Different ideas for it. So he's still in jail now. He only got 20 years to life, but he was up for parole after 20 years, but he's still in now in like an open prison thing. Doesn't look like they're about to let him out anytime soon. So John Lennon's final single was Just Like Starting Over. Funny story. I was a bit nuts on the Beatles at this time. So I went into a record shop, Spillers in town, and I picked up Beatles Live at Hollywood Bowl, which is a cracking little album, and Just Like Starting Over, which I didn't really like, to be honest with you, because it was rock and rolly and I wanted something Beatlese. Let's spread our wings and fly away somewhere unknown. Our time together is so precious. Cold Turkey was a brilliant record, I guess. I talked about his apparent heroin addiction, and I can't see it in the photographic record, but I'm guessing you can't. Instacam is going to get you is a really brilliant track. You think with some tracks like that, that he would have been, you know, what you think he is, but fucking hell, Yoko Ono messed everything up. She killed the Beatles. Plastic fucking Ono band. Excuse me. Do you ever see that performance? Oh my god. Yeah, Instant Camera was really good. Obviously, Imagine, brilliant, and one of the best songs in history. But Paul McCartney couldn't stand Yoko sitting on his amplifier. It pissed him off no end. So he was murdered 3 weeks after the release of his album Double Fantasy. 3 weeks after Double Fantasy, and just like starting over when he gets killed is too much of a coincidence, guys. It's just too much of an irony. It's too weird. So yeah, let me know what you think in comments about all of that. There's plenty more to come. I got a flatter day planned for 2 days' time. This is martinliedtke on the 9th of January 2025, or so they say, talking about the weirdness of John and Yoko Ono and the Dakota Hotel and Rosemary's baby. See you later. Stay epic.